brothers and sisters, we've all turned up the radio to hear Brother Jimmy Lakey, from coast to coast and shore to shore. Now raise your voice, oh let us all, Jimmy Lakey, get out of bed, Jimmy Lakey, raise your voice, Jimmy Lakey, Lakey, hey, can't live without it with Jimmy Lakey, Jimmy Lakey.
Well, here I am to make your day, just as the choir says. Jimmy Lakey will make your day, and glorious day the Lord has made. The Tuesday, 12th day of August, year of our Lord, 2025. Glad to have you here on the program. If you're new to the show, it's Lakey Unleashed. I have been unleashed from the confines of corporate radio, and we do this little streamcast together live every morning. People are gathering around. Notifications are going off on the Instagram, pop-ups everywhere. Lakey's live. He's unleashed. People are gathering in. It's like a fireside chat. And then later in the day, as soon as the live show is over, many of you get to gaze upon the gloriousness of this. You're welcome. Then it will go away to a podcast, and thousands of ear holes will hear this audio portion only, but you're some of the lucky ones. You're getting the video portion this morning, and God bless you for it. And please don't stumble in your walk with the Lord. I know it's hard to gaze upon it. Anyway, good to have you here on the program. Lots of things to get to. Today is Carno Tuesday. Laura Carno is going to be on the show. Big time Laura Carno. She's big time. A lot of folks listen to the program just because they know Laura Carno is going to be on the program. And though they hear that Carno is not going to be here, they tune out immediately and say, we ain't listening to old Lakey. We want the Carno. So anyway, Carno's on the show. Coming up at what we call in the business, the bottom of the hour. So if you're looking at the clock and you look when it goes to the bottom, it's what, 30, right? 30 past? That's when Carno's on. Magical, just like that. The bottom of the hour. And so that would be 8:30 in the Mountain Times, 10:30 in the East Coast time, 7:30 in the Pacific time. You get the idea. You calculate your own time zone. But anyway, the bottom of the hour, Carno's going to be with us on the program. Let's talk about crime in Washington, D.C. I know Carno and I are going to talk about this. Laura Carno and I will talk about this some as well. But it is amazing to me watching the Democrats go bat crap crazy when Donald Trump says, hey, I'm going to federalize the Washington, D.C. Police Department for a period of time. Take it over. Now, if you know the founding of our country, our founders never envisioned that the Washington, D.C. area would be a separate state or a separate governance. They said it's going to be under federal rule. They wanted it to be a federal enclave, neutral as far as politics. But it was later on, they gave them a city council and they gave them a mayor and they let them have their own police force. And it's not worked out. They've got a jackass mayor named Muriel Bowser that pretty much is a pro-criminal idiot, is what you can say. She would not campaign on that, but the crime under her has not been good. Of course, you have Marion Barry. Remember, they go back in the days of these D.C. mayors that are have been bad. And D.C. Predominantly is a Black or African-American community, is what we're supposed to say, I guess. But it's a Black community, and they have been living in squalor when it comes to not safe to go on the street. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But I just like the responses yesterday, because what happens is the Democrats oftentimes just expose their own hypocrisy or hypocrisy. As I say often on the show, if they didn't have double standards, they wouldn't have any standards at all. And so the Democrats have squawked and, oh my God, you can't come in. The Department of Justice, FBI, you can't come in and take over our popo. What are you saying? Now, what did the police say? The police of Washington, D.C. issued a statement saying, yeah, we need help. We need help on the street. The policies of this city, policies of this ass-white mayor, pardon me, but that's true. The policies of all these people are devastating our city. And the police are out there saying, yes, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, federal government. We'll take all the help we can get at the Washington, D.C. Police Department. They're very happy for it. So what this does is it all of a sudden puts Democrats that are out there squawking about taking over the federal or the federalizing the Washington, D.C. Police Department for now. What it does is it puts Democrats in a position of going, you hate Trump so much that even though the local police have issued a statement and are saying, please come help us. We beg you, we beseech you, come if you would. We need help. Even though the local police are asking for help, the Democrats say, we don't want you to have help because we hate Donald Trump. And anybody out there right now that's squawking about the takeover or the federalization of the Washington, D.C. Police Department for a temporary period of time, you are a person that should be self-diagnosing yourself, not checking for breast cancer or testicular cancer. You should just go have your head examined because you have Trump derangement syndrome. You have no boundaries in reality. You're just spewing out talking points, and you find yourself at odds with the actual police. And it's interesting that the ones who wanted to defund the police are pretty much the same ones now going, don't touch the police. So don't bring in the federales. So we'll talk more about this because the crime rates in DC are awful. Let me give you kind of an example I've heard. I was trying to kind of quantify it. The Democrats are going out with this phrase, it's the lowest it's been in 30 years. Well, let me put it this way. If you have been out there, you're a 400-pound, 300-pound person, and you've been eating like crap, and you've been, maybe eating like you're on vacation every day, and you show it. You got a weight problem. If you come back after 30 years of obesity and say, well, I'm eating less than I have in 30 years, doesn't matter. You're still a fat person. It's still obese. It doesn't mean you're going to get in shape. That's what you're hearing. This lowest in 30 years. Yes. Are you willing to send your wife around the corner to the grocery store in Washington, D.C.? No, but it's lower than it was. It's better than it was. No, this is a stupid, intellectually bankrupt argument. Every damn politician that's out there spouting this phrase or news person, it's lower than it's been in 30 years. Yeah, but you're still not walking the street at night, are you? Car thefts are still high. Murder rates in the nation's capital pale. Other world capitals and other national capitals pale in comparison around the globe as to how dangerous Washington, D.C. is. So these intellectually bankrupt jackwagons come out and say, well, it's lower than it's been in 30 years. Leave us alone. Well, just because it's the lowest it's been in 30 years, if you've been obese and fat and overweight for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you can't say, well, I'm eating less than I ever have. Yeah, but you still weigh 343 pounds and you're going to have to cut less. So it's a stupid comparison. It shows the intellectual bankruptcy of some of these people and just the shallowness of how they cannot and will not face reality that Washington, D.C. is a very criminal-infested city, and it's not a safe place to be. We'll go some of the numbers with Laura Carno later on the program, but I just want to remind you that just because a fat person tells you, I'm eating less than I used to, well, that doesn't mean you're healthy, and it doesn't mean you're going to lose weight, because there's going to have to be certain activities or certain things that have to happen for you to trigger that weight loss mechanism. And just because you say you're eating less than you have in 30 years, you're still maybe eating too much. So that we'll talk more about that. Here's an interesting thing. All these people that are squawking about the DC takeover, how many of you know the other departments that have been taken over by the feds or the Department of Justice? How many of you realize that for the last 9 years, up until last year, Albuquerque, New Mexico's police department was for a while overseen, but Albuquerque, New Mexico's police department was taken over, if you will, by intervention by the federales, and that lasted for 9 years. Did you hear the Democrats squawking about that? They never squawked about it. They thought that they were violating civil rights. They thought that maybe there was an excessive use of deadly force, frequent use of force. We get people that were roaming the street, drooling, and mentally ill. And so the Department of Justice said, yeah, Albuquerque, you're not getting this thing right. And so the federales went in and took over the Albuquerque Police Department, I think in 2015, and they got the court to sign off on it as well. And only that happened in 2015. Only in 2024 did that happen to go back to its totally local rule in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You say, well, Jimmy, that's kind of an outlier. That's not a good example. No, it's a great example, but you never heard the Dems that are imploding about the federalization and a power grab. They weren't complaining in 2015 when Albuquerque got taken over. Did you know that for a period of time, local police departments in Seattle, Washington, were overtaken and taken over by the federal government? In fact, let me just give you the list of times and see which ones have you heard of. 1997. Pittsburgh police got taken over by the feds because crime was too high and they just weren't doing a good job. 2012, Seattle, Washington, taken over by the Department of Justice, Police Department. Portland, Oregon in 2014. Newark, New Jersey was taken over by the Department of Justice in 2016. 2012, this is again random dates here. New Orleans, Louisiana, taken over in 2012. Cleveland, Ohio, got taken over in 2015 by the federales. Baltimore, Maryland, 2017, got taken over by the federales. I ain't even done with half the list, my friends. Chicago, Illinois, the Popo there were taken over by the Department of Justice in 2019. Here's the one I just mentioned. Albuquerque, New Mexico, taken over in 2014, not 2015. Ferguson, Missouri, just outside of St. Louis. Anybody remember Ferguson? Yeah, that taken over in 2016. Did you realize that? The federal government has come in and tried to get police departments headed in the right direction over and over and over. And I'm going to go back to 1997. You can go back further than that. Louisville, Kentucky. That they were taken over in 2021, and that lasted up until this year. It just ended, the Louisville, Kentucky takeover. And Minneapolis, Minnesota was taken over by the Department of Justice in 2023, and that decree or that takeover ended this year as well. So these are this is not an unnormal or a random thing that happens that you go in and you take over the local police department. And in the case of Washington, D.C. yesterday, Washington, D.C.'s police union actually said, thank you. That's fantastic. We really need some help around here. So anybody out there, as you hear this squawking and balking that this is a power grab and that this is unprecedented, these people are, again, let me say it, intellectually bankrupt. And you should not even ask them how to water a cactus. I mean, there's no advice that they can give to you. If they're, they may not be the dumbest person you know, but they better hope the dumbest person you know doesn't die. And that's what you have to realize. Put this in the framework of reality. In the framework of reality, what Donald Trump did is something that they've done in other cities for various reasons. Sometimes it's because of excessive violence. Sometimes it's been because of excessive crime. Sometimes it's been because of civil rights violations. There's a lot of reasons, but the Department of Justice went, what was that? A list of a dozen or 2 dozen going back into the early 2000s, late 90s. It happens on a regular basis every year or so. The Department of Justice or the federales take over a local police department and try to get it back in shape. And for sometimes that lasts 9 or 10 years. And so again, all these people squawking about this takeover of the Popo in Washington, D.C. being unprecedented. They're just not based in reality, and it's not as unusual as the media would try to have you think it is. But again, this is, again, Trump derangement syndrome on full exposure. It's the full Monty of Trump derangement syndrome, and you just need to realize perspective. A little bit of research. Now you're armed to the water cooler. If you have one of your crazy liberal friends at work drooling with purple hair and dreaming of lesbian activity in a Subaru Outback, stereotype, I know. But if you have them, you now, well, he took over the police department. Yeah, they do it all the time. And give them a list of cities. They're easy to find. And you can find out exactly what it is that has happened and does happen. All right, good to have you here on the program. My name is Jimmy. I've got a question for you, question of the day. And this is a question of the day about the future of the MAGA movement, the Make America Great Again movement. And so usually we try to avoid political discussion in our question of the day. And it's kind of just a fun rant down memory lane about, your favorite cartoon character or Saturday morning activity when you were a kid, those kind of things. You know that is the question of the day. But today I want to play off a little bit of, it's a little bit more political, but it can also be fun. Is that last week Donald Trump was asked, do you see J.D. Vance as the one that's going to take over the MAGA movement? And he said, yeah, it's possible. It seems like the heir apparent right now. It's early, but he said Marco Rubio's doing a good job. Maybe those two will team up together, meaning maybe they won't have a bloody primary since they're going to compete with each other. And I'm not one to speculate because 3.5 years is a long ways away for another election. We got a long time to go before that happens. But in reality, in about 1.5 years or less than 2 years, people are going to start marking their territory and declaring whether or not they're going to run for the Democrat nomination or the Republican nomination. And so I want to frame it with the MAGA movement. Is who do you think right now is the heir apparent to the MAGA mantle? Who's going to take over the reins of MAGA at the end of this Trump term? Is it J.D. Vance? I've had a couple of people that do not tend or not prone to sway towards voting for Donald Trump. I wouldn't say they're Trump haters, but they're just they're more left and they don't like Trump. I've had two people, so they don't have a vested interest, say, I can't see JD. One yesterday told me this. I can't see JD Vance ever getting elected. He just doesn't come across that well. I don't see that the same way with JD Vance. And I don't know if they really believe that, or that's the reality they bought into because that's the narrative they were fed. Because remember when they first picked JD Vance, they came out with this talking point. He's weird, he's awkward, he's strange. And you realize that you think that boys should be able to get dressed with girls in a locker room. Don't tell us that JD Vance is strange. JD Vance is the poster child for living the American dream in Appalachia to the vice president's mansion. So, but I've had two people say, but it's similar to the talking point. He's awkward, he's weird, and I just don't know if he can do it. And I don't know if they can pinpoint something that he said or done, or are they just simply parroting the early painting of the narrative that the media tried to pin on him. But the question is back kind of what they asked Donald Trump last week. Who is it that you believe takes over the MAGA reins, the MAGA mantle after Donald Trump? I think you'll probably see J.D. Vance run. You're going to have a Marco Rubio out there that's going to jump in there. You got the Ted Cruz types out there. I'm sure you've got some Republican governors out there. In other words, I would not foresee that as much as you might love Donald John Trump, I would not say that just because J.D. Vance would declare that I don't think they're going to give him a clear field. I think it will be a competitive primary. But it was President Trump that said J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio working together would be a great thing. Looking at the chat room, RJ says the same thing. J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio would be a great team together. So I'm curious. We're not usually don't dive into the world of politics, but is there anybody out there that has some thoughts on who's going to take over the MAGA mantle? Who is it that you're kind of looking at? And normally when a president begins a great term like this, you don't have to worry about it for, let's say, 8 years. But now you don't have this 4-year tent, and so I want to find out what you say. Arlo says, I love J.D. Vance. Also, Marco Rubio's doing a wonderful job. Well, thank you, Arlo. We appreciate that. Ray on the YouTube channel this morning chimes in, and he says, how about Don Jr.? Well, there's some theory there that maybe Don Jr. would be interested in something like that. I don't know. I'm just asking you, who would you support? Who do you think would be best at this point? I know a lot of you say you like J.D. Vance, but is there somebody that could step in there and take the MAGA mantle better? I know it's early. This is really, really big speculation, 3.5 years out. But give me your thoughts. Last week, Trump was more definitive than he had been on similar questions. What happens when you're done? That's when he was yanking the chain of the media, saying, well, I may not be done. I may run again. And it just send the media into apoplectic shock. They just freak out. Well, now he's actually admitting that probably not going to run again, but JD's done a great job. Marco's done a great job. So give me your thoughts. You also got the Christy Gnomes. You got the Pam Bondis out there. You've got other people that, anybody who gets to that level of politics. I mean, Burgum has already run for president. They all believe that they would be great presidents. Unfortunately, some of them had to settle for the cabinet. So give me your thoughts. Who should it be? What's interesting is, as much as he's been a fantastic governor, the Florida governor Ron DeSantis has not been mentioned a lot. Anytime I've asked friends this question, anytime I look at the chat room, nobody's mentioned DeSantis. Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis had a little bit of bickering early on because DeSantis didn't give Donald Trump the credit that Donald Trump thought he deserved for getting him elected governor. But I think they've kissed and made up. But there's the question for you. Is Ron DeSantis the one that comes and takes over the MAGA reins or the MAGA mantle? Do you think that Ron DeSantis is going to sit by and say, well, J.D. Vance got the mantle, I'm not going to run? I'm sorry, these guys, and I've run for office. You have a little bit of ego to run for office, and you're pretty darn sure you're running because you're better than the clown that's in there now. And so there's your question. Hey, Ron DeSantis fans out there. Question of the day, who takes over the MAGA reins after Donald Trump has decided to retire and work on the decoration for his presidential museum? Can you imagine, by the way, what a great presidential museum that's going to be? Donald Trump's trying to clean up the streets of Washington, D.C. Donald Trump's building a ballroom. Donald Trump is doing all this great stuff to beautify things. He says he's going to give the Kennedy Center, the Trump Kennedy Center, I think somebody referred to it as, he's going to give it a makeover and to return it to the luxury that it used to be. Remember, he placed himself as the head of the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Can you imagine what his presidential library is going to be like? If you thought that the Taj Mahal and Trump Towers were beautiful, you might want to think about what his presidential palace is going to look like, or his post-presidential library is going to look like. I bet it's going to look absolutely fantastic. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. Jimmy is my name. Again, the question of the day is, who is it that you think is going to take over the MAGA mantle? There's some that could be a good idea. I'm sure that, it could be smart assery as well happening. Jeff says, Kid Rock for president. All right, Kid Rock for president. We can do that. We do that. Anyway, Arloa points out we do have a very deep bench. Now, if you're watching out there in Never Never Land and you're watching the show, listening to the show, and you're like, I don't even hope the JD Vance, I want Trump to be gone, and you're whining and crying again, dreaming of lesbian activity in a Subaru Outback because you're crazy liberal living in your mama's basement. I think I'm going to coin that phrase. I think it's really good to like. I just made it up, looking for lesbian activity in the back of a Subaru Outback. I think it's good. It offends the Subaru Outback people, but why do I care? Well, I think it's fun. I like that phrase. Don't use it without giving me credit. Footnotes, please, on every conversation if you ever say that. But who's going to take over the MAGA mantle? Now, if you're out there watching and you're that person that I just referred to in the Subaru, and you're saying, well, who's your bench? Who are you advocating for? Is it big fat J.D. Pritzker, big boy? Is it big boy? What in your area of the country? Remember, I grew up in Texas. We had a Kips big boy, as Kips, and you had the big guy in the checkered overalls carrying the hamburger in the air. Remember the Kips? And most of the country, I think, it was a Bob's Big Burger, Bob's Big Boy. Doesn't J.D. Pritzker look like he was the model for the big boy? He really, if you look at him and you put a hamburger on a stand above his head, I'm telling you, he would look like Big Boy. And that's why I call Pritzker Big Boy. I think he's, I think Pritzker is a big boy. Stacy's out there. She just said J.D. Vance or Jimmy Lakey. Listen, I've run for Congress once. It's a brutal sport. I almost was Congressman Jimmy Lakey, but then I wasn't. But yeah, I've run for Congress. I'm done. I've got people that have asked me all the time if I'm going to run again. Are you going to run again? When they formed the 8th Congressional District in Colorado, I had some really good friends say, hey, Lakey, you live in the new district. Are you going to run to the district? And I said, not a chance in heck. Well, you just shut up. I'm not going to run. So no, I appreciate it, but America would not survive a Lakey presidency. Well, they might. They'd be a lot better off if I were running this place. That's what I say. That's what I say in every meeting I'm in. If you'd let me run this damn thing, it'd be a lot better off. Not as dysfunctional. I'd set it straight. Unfortunately, usually people don't put me in charge of stuff, so it's all right. No, I ran for Congress, and I did have some people. I think I could have gotten a little whiz bang and activity if I had run in CD8 in Colorado when they formed the new district a couple of years ago. But I didn't run, so I don't plan to run. Appreciate you. All right, good to have you here. That's your question of the day. Who's deep on the bench? And again, if you're a Democrat out there asking who's deep on your bench, who are you supporting? If the Republicans are thinking J.D. Vance or Ron DeSantis or Marco Rubio, is there any Democrat out there campaigning? I mean, I can't imagine that anybody out there is going, boy, I sure love Gavin Newsom. I mean, the guy's the most unlikable fake fraud you can imagine. He's destroyed a state that you didn't think could go down any further, California. But is there anybody out there that has a Newsom for president shirt on? I don't think it does have a Newsom for president shirt out there made. Big boy, was it Bob's Big Boy, Kip's Big Boy? That's J.D. Pritzker's dad. Gretchen Whitmer from Illinois, she's also often talked about. She's no evil. If you look at Gretchen Whitmer in the eye, I swear that Beelzebub himself may possess your soul. You don't want to look deep in the soul of that woman. She seems to be have something off, and either emotionally, spiritually, or maybe both. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not judging here. I'm not the final judge, but I'm telling you, I think if you look at Gretchen Whitmer in the eyes, too much. Gretchen Whitmer is the backcrap crazy woman that when she went to the White House begging for help and money, she also, when she walked to the Oval Office, she was covering her face as if the cameras wouldn't see her. Remember that? That's Gretchen Whitmer. You know what that is? That's a sick and demented woman. Not demented in the way that Joe Biden was demented and crapping his pants in the Oval Office, but just demented in another way, devious and deceitful woman. That's Gretchen Whitmer. So, hey, you Dems out there, you don't like us talking about MAGA and the mantle of MAGA? Why don't you tell us who's going to be your girl or who's going to be your boy? And tell us why they're qualified. But J.D. Vance, Marco Rubio, what say you? All right, what other stories do I want to get into here? on this day the Lord has made. Oh, I do want to talk more about crime in America. We're going to save some of that for Laura Carno coming up here in just a minute, because when did it become normal and almost excusable that these Democrats come out and say, we're the lowest crime we've had in 30 years. Don't federalize us. But you're still not letting your wife or your kids walk out on the streets of Washington, D.C. late at night. Last time I was there, I said, I'm going to take a walk I was at Shelley's back room, one of my favorite places in D.C. It's a great cigar room. And I was going to walk to Shelley's back room just down from the White House near the U.S. Treasury Department as well. Just down the block, there's some nice hotels. But I was a little bit further, a couple of blocks away, and I asked the front desk, I said, I don't have my mountains to orient me. If you're in Colorado, we all know west is mountains and everywhere else isn't. And I said, which way is Shelley's back room? I think it's that way. And they looked at the map. They said, it's that way. And I said, can I walk it? They said, are you going to be back before dark? And I'm like, well, it's getting dark now. They said, yeah, you should probably Uber. And it was like 4 blocks away. And the front desk of the hotel's like, yeah, you don't want to be on the streets of Washington, D.C., even near the White House late at night. And this is what, Big Balls experienced last week. Had to jump in and try to be chivalrous and save the life of the car of his girlfriend. He took a beating for it. But these Democrats come out there and say, it's the lowest it's been in 30 years. Yes, but you still wouldn't walk the streets. It's the lowest it's been in 30 years. But, when did we get ready? When did we dismiss that? When did that become a thing that we could look at, let's say Denver, which is just down the street from me? A lot of you live in Colorado, but pick the city, Baltimore, and we almost have this exclusive behavior and say, well, it's very violent there. Yeah, you might not want to venture off too many blocks in Denver. And we say it as if we're supposed to speak like that. We say it as if that's normal. And I don't think that's supposed to be normal. In the last 2 decades, maybe 1 decade, for some reason, we're just willing to dismiss the big cities and say, oh, yeah, you don't want to go too far that way. They're going to have crap on the streets and there's drugs. And don't go over by the shelter. That's real dangerous. When did we get to where we almost just excuse it? And the Democrats excuse crime all the time. And they say it's just getting better. But we somehow seemingly kind of passively just accept it and like, oh, it's no big deal. Yeah, I was in D.C., but I was at my hotel by midnight or by 6 o'clock, I should say. I didn't go downstairs. That's not normal. We should not as Americans live in that type of fear and trepidation. And yet somehow it seems like collectively we have accepted it as it's just a part of the reality in certain cities. And yeah, that's just how it is there, just how it is. And we have to somewhere, maybe Trump's the guy that's going to do that, is start questioning this reality and say, you know what? It's not normal for us to have to live this way. It's not normal for us to have to say, yeah, if you're going down to the Colorado State Capitol, there at Colfax, and there's a lot of homeless, make sure you park as close as you can. And hey, if you're single and a woman and you're traveling alone, make sure you get to your car before the sun goes down. And we give this advice as if we're opening a fortune cookie at a Chinese restaurant. It's just like, no, it's no big deal. And yet this stuff should be a big deal. The fact that we're having to put these disclaimers or just give this air of acceptance to crime in America is just wrong. And Democrats coming out and saying that the lowest crime rate in 30 years, or by God, don't federalize us. That doesn't mean anything. Again, I'll use the analogy if I can, that if I've been overweight and hefty and weighed 400 pounds, it doesn't matter that I come to you and say, well, I eat less now than I used to. I eat less now than I have in 30 years. Well, you still weigh 350 pounds and you're still fat and you still can't walk up a flight of stairs and you're probably going to drop dead soon. So don't be bragging about you're eating less. You're not eating less enough and doing enough to lose weight. You're still out of shape and you're still a disaster. And that's the Democrats jumping up there. As low as it's been in 30 years. Yes, but you still won't walk the street at night, you jackwagons. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Wednesday. It's Tuesday. And because I jumped ahead a day. I'd already solved all today's problems. I was moving on to Wednesday. It's Tuesday, which makes it Carno Tuesday. Laura Carno, commentator extraordinaire, and all around good person. She's if she keeps getting caught in these storms, we're going to call her Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz. But she somehow clicks her heels together and she comes right back to this program every Tuesday. It looks like she's out in the shop today. Laura Carno, how are you?
Yes, definitely in the shop. This is where all of the room is.
Yeah, so you're going to put your welding gear on here in a second, do some welding out there?
No, that's not going to happen.
Are you a crafty person? A crafty meaning, are you the kind that could go out there and whittle something up in the shop, or you just grow tomatoes and leave the power tools to someone else? Are you a power tool person?
So I am capable of using power tools, and I tell my husband on occasion that he has made me lazy because he just grabs stuff and takes care of things, and he's a very quick and efficient worker at those kind of things. So I'm like, dude, you made me lazy. I've forgotten how to use everything. So
Yeah, I'm not much of a power tool guy. As a matter of fact, my friends laugh. One time I had to have somebody come over, and all the you're supposed to replace your fire alarms in your home every once in a while. Well, I didn't know that. Nobody told me that. I have a handyman. He never mentioned it. He might have, and I ignored him. And so in the coldest day of the year, because they're all connected, right? The whole house is beep, 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 beep. And I'm like, and it was a holiday weekend. And it was crazy. And I had a friend who was knew how to do it. So he came over, rescued my butt. And he said, "Hey, it was too cold, icy. I had to drive the other car. Do you have a screwdriver?" And I said, "I think so." And I went looking through the house for a screwdriver, and I brought him a screwdriver and a butter knife just in case he wanted. He had options.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
so I'm not a power tool kind of guy, but I will tell you this:
you're not even a non-power tool kind of guy if you're looking for a screwdriver.
That's true. I'm not allowed to have sharp objects, Laura. There's reason. There's reason for this. Ask Delilah. There's reason for this. I will tell you, my son, I laughed. I don't know where he got this from when he was a lot, first, second, third grade, begging me for a big pocket knife. And I said, I don't know about a pocket knife. You know, I'm not afraid of it, but why are you so hell-bent on having a pocket knife? And my son finally one day looked at me. He said, "Dad, because I'm into whittling." Like, and I said, "What?" He goes, "I'm going to whittle." I said, "You're going to whittle? You can't even spell it." I can't even spell it. And he was very serious, looking up at me in his second grade eyes. "Dad, I'm going to whittle." And I said, so I got him. So I took him to Africa, and we're touring around. We're watching, we're at the Akagera National Park, and we stopped there. Our driver stops, and he breaks the rules. He lets us kind of get out of the car because he's a professional guide. And he says, "Look across there. This is a safe place to have the lunch I packed for you. But look, there's a rhinoceros, a hippo in the water out there coming up." And I'm trying to get my son's attention. River, there's a hippo right out there. He's in the water. He's like, there. And my son looks at me. He says, "Dad, you see that wood?" I said, "What wood?" He goes, "The one floating on the water." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I could whittle myself a surfboard out of that." He didn't care about the freaking hippo. He was imagining whittling a surfboard, which I never known if any whittler has ever whittled a surfboard before, but you might need to whittle a spear to kill the hippo here real soon. You might want to do that.
Well, it sounds like on A Christmas Story where the kid is trying to come up with all the different angles to get the Red Ryder BB gun.
Yeah.
That was just River,
Yeah.
coming up with different angles to get that pocket knife from
I
Dad.
think he saved his money and he bought a pocket knife. And we couldn't go to the True Value hardware store. Where's my son? They have a pocket knife case. I didn't know there's a pocket knife case. He was fine. I think he saved half his money and I paid for half of it, and he got one. And I think he lost it like 3 days later, and he gave up his whittling career. He gave it up, but it was exciting.
But he still has all 10. He still has all 10 fingers.
Yes, he does.
Okay.
That was my fear. I'm like, I didn't ride. I have a helmet riding a bike, and I turned out all right. And people say, "Yeah, Lakey, that might not have been a good thing for you." So, pocket knife. All right, let's dive into this. Crime. It's the lowest it's been in 30 years, Laura Carno. That's kind of like the fat person saying, "I still weigh 400 pounds, but I don't eat as much as I did 30 years ago."
Yeah. So here's what's very interesting is, and we see this too in Colorado when they're saying that crime is low. So President Trump enacted some practices at the border that are allowing fewer people coming across the border, meaning fewer criminals as a small part, obviously, of those immigrants. His Department of Justice has taken major steps to find criminals, whether they're from other countries or from here, and get them in prison. So sure, crime is going down. Totally get that. But this whole thing in DC yesterday, and I like your less obese than you were yesterday analogy, but DC, which is tiny geographically, has had 99 homicides already this year.
Jeez.
99 homicides. I mean, it puts them on par with like Bogota, Colombia, and some of these notoriously very dangerous cities that you mentioned. The government telling you, or the police department telling you, here's some ways to avoid crime as if it's normal. DC did something very similar. I found this list when I was researching for the show this morning. I found this list where they had DC Metro PD had said, here's how you can keep from getting carjacked. And it's like, why don't you guys put the carjackers in jail instead of giving me tips? And by the way, 0 of the tips said, get yourself a firearm, get really good training on defensive use of a firearm so that you don't get killed in a carjacking or some other sort of assault. None of the tips included protecting yourself with a firearm because of their draconian firearms laws. But that's one of the things that would cause the criminals to say, hang on a second. If people are allowed to be concealed carrying, I don't know which of the people I want to carjack might be concealed carrying. I should not carjack people here if I want to live.
Yeah. I gave the list, I'm not sure if you heard it earlier, of other big cities, all run by Democrats, by the way, that have had the Department of Justice come in and take them over. Some of the days of Barry Hussein Obama, some of the days of Trump, but Pittsburgh, Seattle, Portland, New Jersey, Louisiana, Cleveland, Ohio, Baltimore, Chicago. Albuquerque was under federal observation until just last year. Louisville was from 2021 till this year. Minneapolis was under the Department of Justice supervision and takeover up until this year as well. Laura, why is it that you think that the Democrats making such a big deal like this is unprecedented behavior by a power-hungry president, when actually look back in history, the Department of Justice and the feds come in oftentimes and try to set these police departments on the straight and narrow?
Right. It all comes down to the narrative, Jimmy, whether it's, the crime in Democrat cities, this is okay if Democrats do it. It's not okay if Republicans do it. But you can throw all kinds of topics out there, like, oh, look at all these terrible pardons that Donald Trump did, but then you look at the Joe Biden pardons, and those are perfectly fine. Or like, just take any topic, and the narrative is Republicans bad, especially Orange Man. He's especially bad. Everything Democrats do, they've got halos on, and rainbows and unicorns and angels singing and all that stuff. So it's a narrative that the establishment media, the legacy media, is most of them are Democrats. This isn't shocking. It's not a conspiracy theory to say that the media is behind the Democrats. Most of them are Democrats. That flows. It just makes sense.
It's another issue, though, that I hope America connects us all together when it comes time to vote in the future. You have them squawking, taking the streets, trying to burn down Los Angeles about deporting criminal illegal aliens. They broke the law. Donald Trump wants to return to the rule of law and says, listen, if you want to change the law, let open borders do that. But the law says this, we're going to enforce the laws that are here. You have people are being assaulted by criminals, whether it's a 30-year low or 30-year high, doesn't matter. It's still a very dangerous place. President Trump says, I'm going to come in and defend the rule of law. And in both of these instances, whether it's the border or D.C., Democrats are really working hard to just say we don't give a damn about the rule of law. And how else do you interpret this other than the Democrats are on the side of criminals and illegals, and they don't really care about protecting people?
Right. Yeah, because that's part of their agenda. There was in DC, there was this anti-Trump rally because of the federal takeover of DC. And so a couple of things. Number one, you have Democrats arguing against public safety and against reducing murders. So they're in a very interesting position of what kind of message are you sending? But 2 blocks away from that protest, somebody was murdered during the protest 2 blocks away. And you're like, you just couldn't make this up. And when you say, okay, 99 murders, and that's fewer than there were the previous year, the previous couple of years, whatever. Those are 99 mothers who have lost a child. These aren't numbers. These are families who are impacted. And if people want to say, well, a lot of them are gang murders. I mean, that might be. I haven't dug into those. Those are still mothers who have lost their sons or daughters, people who have lost their brother. These numbers need to be humanized, because they are, when you're talking about assaults or what have you, these are humans. And there was, again, when I was researching this morning, before the show, if you look at, go into Twitter, and you can kind of use it like like Google or something, and put search terms in there. Holy shnikes, there are reporters and people who work in for members of Congress, and all kinds of people are like, yeah, I mean, I got mugged. Everybody knows somebody who got mugged. And to your point, that's not okay for this to be completely normalized.
Yeah, that's what I was asking earlier. When did it become normal that we almost excuse whether it's Baltimore or Denver or San Francisco? Yeah, it used to be a good place, but don't go on that block. There's homeless. When did that become okay? And we just say, hey, don't just take an Uber from your hotel. You got to be real safe. 2 decades ago, that would not have been normalized, but for some reason we have grown that any big city, you just kind of accepted that that's the way it is. When did that happen?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know when, but when I was growing up in the 70s in California, that wasn't even a thought.
No.
That it was so rare. There was like this big serial killer, the Night Stalker, who was killing people in California in, I don't remember if it's the 70s or 80s, sometime when I was growing up. And it was like terrifying, because like, where could this happen, and what was the pattern? But it's because there was really not much crime to speak of. But yeah, remember that song, Try That in a Small Town? Yeah, try that in a small town.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. And again, all these cities have something in common. It's called the Blue Wave. They all have some Democrats running them, and they're not a party of law and order for sure. Now, they will say, and this ties into our next segment, they will say, no one's above the law. Evidently, illegal aliens are, because you don't want to deport them. No one's above the law. Evidently Joe Biden, Hunter Biden are. That's why you have to give them pardons and the family. But it looks like one of the guys that spouted that no one above the law thing, trying to get Donald Trump in handcuffs, is Adam Schiff. And between mortgage fraud investigation and now a whistleblower coming forward, it looks like Adam Schiff has had some very shifty behavior.
Yes, very, very good, producer Chad. I like the spelling of shifty right there. So there's a whistleblower who worked with in Schiff's orbit at the time, in like, we'll call it 2017, when Adam Schiff was on the cable stations every single night pushing this Russia hoax. And now it's coming out that this whistleblower said, we know it's not true. And by the way, Schiff was involved. Schiff approved this, not just involved, he approved this. And this staffer, again, turned whistleblower, is saying, hey, hang on a second. This isn't legal. I'm not going to be a part of getting this information out there because it's not legal. And, remember at the time, 2017, this is a sitting president. So when you are trying to undermine a sitting president, I don't know what's that called, insurrection or some such thing. But the staffer turned whistleblower is like, I don't want to have anything to do with it. And the article, there's a good article on it in PJ Media that has a bunch of different links to sources. But he needs to get in very big trouble for this, Jimmy. This can't be a, sweep the server, Hillary's server under the rug. He needs to get in really big trouble for this. He needs to lose his seat. He needs to see some time behind bars. Something needs to happen. That behavior is not acceptable.
It's fascinating. Again, the people of California voted for this guy, knowing that he was a shifty little fella. And it again just goes back. How do these people get elected? Knowing what their records are, knowing how they destroyed, knowing how they've not left anything in their wake better. I think of our own governor, Jared Polis, and downtown Denver used to be a really nice place. Colorado used to be an affordable, desirable place. Now more people want to leave here than come here. And yet people keep electing the people that have these policies that are destroying what they had. and they're still angry at the orange guy. And the guy that screwed your state up is Gavin Newsom. It's Adam Schiff. It's Jared Polis. Why you hate the orange guy so much? Why don't you hate your guy? You keep put his jackwagon butt in office there.
Right. And in Colorado, the governor called a special session to deal with the big, beautiful bill impacts, one big, beautiful bill impacts. And I saw a presentation from our state legislators on Saturday about what this special session was going to do. And there's some interesting details in it. Nothing has to get done right now. The only thing that has to get done is we're in a time period, in a window right now in Colorado, that if you want to put something on the ballot for November, it needs to be soon. So my bet is the legislature is going to come up with some sort of a tax increase that goes on the November budget to solve this alleged problem. But even more interestingly, the Republicans are saying, great, here's a whole bunch of different ways we can save money. But the call, meaning the thing that says, hey, legislators, you have to come back to the Capitol for a special session, the call says they can only look for new sources of revenue.
Oh, wow.
They can't cut any costs. And you look at that and you go, what is wrong with you people? Yeah. And the Democrats, by and large, the Democrat voters just kind of go along and don't ask too many hard questions.
Yeah, they're not that smart. That's why. It's fascinating. I haven't talked about this much, but this call for a special session, again, what it is the state of Colorado, if you're out of the state, or maybe haven't paid attention to your own state in Colorado, has said, oh, the big, beautiful bill's cutting some federal government funding that was coming our way. And so we have X number of bazillions of dollars of shortfall that we used to get money from the federal government. So think of that if you're in another state. Colorado has been basically building its budget off all 49 other states, sending their money to Washington, D.C., and then that money was dispersed. Some of it from Pennsylvania was sent here to Colorado so that we could live beyond our means with our federal income tax. And it happens all the time. States were living outside of their means because the federales were taking income tax dollars from the taxpayers and dispersing it. And so Colorado's a bloated state. A lot of these states are bloated. And yet, when will we wake up and understand that everybody ought to be cheering that the big, beautiful bill passed because your monies in Pennsylvania or Arkansas never have to come to Colorado now? The world's backwards, Laura. It's all backwards.
You know why? Because you and I aren't in charge of it.
Yeah,
we could be in charge of it, and then we would leave everyone alone and let them keep their money.
Yeah, that's true. All right, one more quick topic. President Trump announced this morning that he's going to extend the deadline on the tariffs with China because they're still having a discussion. I think that's probably a good sign. It means they think the discussions are moving forward. And give me your thoughts on the extension of the tariff deadline with China.
Yeah, China. That's exactly why it's good news, because there's some hope. I'm one of these who thinks that tariffs are a terrible fiscal idea. I love how the president has used them as a cudgel to cause good things to happen in countries, to get things changed that have nothing to do with tariffs. Because we're such a big market, we can use that as a threat. I could see him using that kind of discussion with Putin on, I think their meeting is Friday. We'll tariff 1,000% if you don't stop this thing right now. Like that's a great use for, threats like that. But the economy is doing well, Jimmy. It could be doing spectacularly if these tariffs were, if we got to agreements with countries to get tariffs down to zero on both sides, that would be amazing. It's lower cost for us here in the United States, lower cost for people across the world. So that's my hope. I know I'm completely in the majority and not in agreement with the president, but I see it as a very good step that there's a pause on those tariffs. Let's see how close we can get to everybody playing nice in sandboxes, not just with tariffs, but being good world citizens and maybe not having slave labor in your country, for starters.
The entire audience is now trying to figure out the use of the word cudgel. You use the word cudgel, and no one even knows how to spell it. You said it's a
Cudgel, I think.
wow,
Like
ladies and
hammer.
gentlemen, this is the intellectual hype that goes right here. We a new word. I'm like cudgel. What's the? I think I'm in the spelling bee, and I'm in third grade. What's the country of origin? Did you use it in a sentence? And I'm like, I still don't know what it means. Cudgel. I'm going to practice that. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Somebody just posted. Jeff just said Laura Carno for president.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Only if I could get appointed and not have to go through a campaign, as you know. And
Yeah.
I've run a lot of campaigns for folks. They're terrible things
Yeah.
to go through, and as a candidate, I can't even imagine.
Oh, I was a candidate. I'm like, I'm done with this. That was a rough one. That was tough.
Yeah.
It's rough and tumble. All right, Laura Carno, it's always a pleasure to have you here on the program. Now you've introduced a new word. Our word of the day is cudgel.
I just hope what if I used it wrong or spelled it wrong? I've always used it.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I can't tell you we don't know what the word means. How are we going to tell you used it wrong?
Because there's somebody out there smarter than me and you. It's got to be.
Definitely smarter than me. I'm not sure about you. You're
I've met us.
I know us, and we ain't good. Laura Carno, it is a pleasure. Be safe and don't be cudgeling. Somebody put a obnoxious Scott. A cudgel, more proof that she is the smartest woman in Colorado. Listen,
somebody look it up. Tell me if I'm using it right.
I don't know if Oliver's out there. His heart's palpitating and he's sweating right now. He's like,
yeah,
she said cudgel.
I think it's Cudgel. I think I will look it up. I will look it up and send it to you.
We will have a report on that. And Oliver's palpitating. He goes, she's talking dirty to me now, cudgeling me. So. Sorry.
It's not cuddling.
It's different. It's a dirty kind of cuddling. And Oliver's like, sign me up. I want the dirty cuddles. Laura Carno, it's a pleasure. Fastercolorado.org. Fastercolorado.org. Laura, I'll reach out this week. I got some news on your fundraiser we're going to do.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll talk soon.
Fastercolorado.org. Give her a little cash, some money, and help keep school kids safe in America. Cudgel. I don't know what it means. How would I know she's using it incorrectly or correctly? You know, another word I never heard on when I got hired by the big spacecraft, the iHeart spacecraft. It's been 11 years now. This would have been 11 years this month that I was there. I was there for over 10. The general manager, God rest his soul, name was Stu Haskell. He's the guy that hired me. And Stu was a legend in Colorado radio and honored to work for him for a period of years, but he passed away. But Stu said, my listeners here are really going to glom onto you. And I thought I didn't know what glom on to me was. The listeners are going to glom on. We're taking a good risk here, glom onto you. And I've never been able to use glom onto something with a straight face. And I've never looked it up, but in his, that was like a cudgel and glom were just words that I'm like, I guess that's the correct use of glom. I don't know how you glom. When else in life do you cudgel something, and when else in life do you glom onto something? I don't know, but he was convinced that the listeners are going to glom onto me, and I'm still not sure if they ever did, because I'm not sure what glomming was. They're going to glom on. So did they glom? Is past tense I don't know. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Our Lois says she used the word correctly. Thank you. Carno jumps back in. She's on the YouTube channel, and cudgel, and there's the spelling, Cudgel. Look, she even puts the phonetics and all that stuff. See, that's how smart she is. Noun, it's a short, thick stick used as a weapon. Look at the second definition, Carno. The second one, it's dirty cuddling. I'm telling you, that's what it is. That's no, producer Chad, don't do it. Don't do it. Producer Chad's like, yep, short, thick stick used as a weapon. That's dirty cuddling. See, I knew. We got to go to. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, a programming note here as we have slid down the slide into 7th grade humor on the program. 7th grade humor on the program is Thursday and Friday. We're not doing a show. Only because we're going to censor ourselves for using the word cudgel in a nasty way, and we should be spanked for that. And so we're going to spank ourselves on Thursday and Friday. Actually, no, Thursday, producer Chad and I were going to play in a charity golf tournament together. And then I decided it would be a better use of my time. I need to go check in on, I mentioned that my mother's aging and I need to go check in on her. So I got to do that Thursday, and then Friday I'll be traveling back. So there's going to be some travel days coming up, some golf tournament days. So Thursday and Friday, producer Chad and I will not be here doing the show. So all I can say is you're on your own. You find your own entertainment. Watch a rerun, do whatever you can. If you really love us, donate to the charity during those days. That's what I'm saying. But Thursday and Friday, there will be no show this week. One of the reasons there is a show is because of people like Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Listen, you need to reach out to Sherry, get on her radar and get her on your radar. Are you thinking about real estate? Maybe you're wondering, maybe you may not be ready to sell right now, but you've got it down the road. You're kind of coming up with a strategy. Homeswithsherry.com. She's the one you want to get that strategy together with. She can take some of the weight off of your shoulders, and if you need help staging, she even has contacts. I need to paint. I don't know. She'll help you with all that stuff. You just got to get the ball rolling. And maybe you're not ready yet. Maybe you want to wait till the first of the year. We're the month of August, and you don't want to be, wait till springtime. Maybe it's a springtime decision. You're going to sell next spring. That's fine. You start preparing it now. You start getting your game plan now. And that way, the last minute, you're not really desperately doing something. And again, if you're in the housing market, you're wanting to buy a home, listen, if you're in Fort Collins, if you're in Fort Lupton, if you're in Denver, if you're in Dacono, if you're in Broomfield, if you're in Boulder, if you're in Berthoud, if you're in Loveland, anywhere up that I-25 corridor, I'm telling you, you need to reach out to Sherry, homeswithsherry.com, and she can help find not just the right home for you, but she can help let you know kind of the trends of the area, the trends of the community, because that home is going to become an investment, and one day you want that investment to pay off, and you want to know how the area is trending, how the school's trending. She can help you with all that, but the bottom line is Sherry's just an amazing individual. Matter of fact, tomorrow I'll be telling you about an event that her and her husband are hosting for a charity. They've hosted private dinners that they fund themselves for my charity. We're going to talk with her and other people hopefully tomorrow about this dinner that they're having in their home. But again, she takes a portion of her proceeds, her commission, and she will donate 10% to the charity of your an amount, whatever amount you guys agree on. She'll take an amount and donate that to the charity of your choice. If you're a veteran, a first responder, you do business with Sherry, she will take a slice in her own personal commissions and profits just to make it more affordable for you. Generous, wonderful. There's a lot of adjectives that I can use, and they all have a great adverb in front of them. Extremely, wonderfully. It's amazing. She's a great person. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. We're proud to have her as a part of this program every day. And I look forward for you getting to know her more in the coming weeks as we're going to start a weekly segment with her. Homeswithsherry.com. Sherry Cree, reach out to her. And if you play in her golf tournament, you're going to meet her. She's already registered with a group as well. So she'll be playing as well. All right. Here's what we got to do. We're going to meme roulette here in a moment. But I do want to remind you, Friday, September the 5th is our charity golf event. Riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. If you could, my friends, reach out to us and get registered for that. We still have a couple of sponsorship activities going on. Yesterday, we proud that NoCo Creations. They're a great little company. Matter of fact, it's not this one. That last year they handed out tumblers like this at our golf tournament. They're back. They're going to be bringing some nice swag for everybody who participates. And they're a Northern Colorado company. If you need coffee mugs for your business or whatever, I'll be passing all that information. But NoCo Creation is going to be part of it this year. We've got Judy Pfeiffer, Remax going to be part. Lehman Lewis Financial Group's back a part of it again. It's a great Jay Ratliff's one of our sponsors. We've just got a whole lineup of people, and I'll start talking about them next week. But make sure you register. If you'd like to be on the lineup of people sponsoring, there's a lot of ways to do that. Join us Friday, September 5th, play golf. If you can't make it, sponsor a hole, sponsor the lots of opportunities. Go to riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. And I hope to see you Friday, September the 5th. And those of you that don't see on Friday, September the 5th, I know where your loyalties are at. You don't really like me. No, I'm kidding. That's manipulation. All right. See you Friday, September 5th. It's time for the meme roulette portion of the show. This is the stolen memes. We steal the memes from anywhere we want to. You know why? Unlike, we steal so many memes, they may have to federalize the meme police to take it over. That's how bad we are at meme stealing. We are prolific stealers of memes. And if there was, don't tell Donald Trump how good we are at stealing memes, or he may let the federales take over the meme patrol. Ready? Round and round the globe we go, where we steal the memes from, no one knows. I love this one. The next time you feel dumb, just remember, Some people got vaccinated for a free donut. Well, they're giving donuts away. Remember, they were giving donuts away. And somebody give away a hamburger, you get a free burger if you get that's it. That's funny. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here you go. This is why young people in America are so confused. Look at the description. That one on the top and left is called a woman. That guy's called competent. She's been called an African American. Oh, that guy's been called a hero. Somehow we think he's a scientist. She wants us to think she's oppressed. Ocasio-Cortez, they think she's a genius. Greta Thunberg, how dare you, expert. Mostly peaceful protest, and there's a Native American there. And you wonder why American young people are so confused. Words don't mean what they used to, unfortunately. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one know. Back then, I didn't have a morning routine. I had a mom with a wooden spoon. Yeah, we ought to do that. Could be a question of the day. When mama got mad at you, what was the weapon of choice? Now, you couldn't do this today because liberal governors would send their child welfare departments in to do it. But we can speak in past tense. What was the weapon of choice? My grandma was a switch. Anybody remember the switch? Go get a switch off the tree. I'm going to whoop your ass, boy. Sometimes my mom would use the fly swatter. The fly swatter. What was your... that's a whole question today. We got to write that into another. By the way, see the scroll at the bottom of the screen I just saw? My Jimmy Lakey is my title supposed to go there. I used the word before the show. Well, I'm just piddling around over here. And producer Chad says, yeah, his wife says he's putzing around the backyard or tinkering. Those are great words, aren't they? Piddling. See, Laura Carno uses words like cuddles, cudgels. It's a cudgel. It's a weapon. A short, thick weapon, and I use the word piddling. We're both intellectual giants, as we are. You're welcome. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from? Nope, my brain doesn't work right sometimes. This is the greatest photo in American history. There you have Donald Trump, Melania Trump, J.D. Vance, and Mrs. Vance. I don't even know her name. I should know her name. Don't tell. Waving bye-bye to demented Joe Biden. Bye-bye. Don't let the door hit you. The greatest photo in American history. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Okay, now they know. We're telling them we stole it from the Babylon Bee. Trump vows to drastically reduce the numbers of criminals in Washington by sending Congress home. If we had a studio audience, people would clap right now. Yeah, so clap. I'm waiting. Thank you. All right, here we go. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Ladies and gentlemen, we have milk the meme machine drop. Oh, we got one. Oh, just when we thought we have spontaneous combustion. Last time Beto O'Rourke ran for president, he was polling at 0.05. He was tied with O'Doul's. Beto O'Rourke making a speech. He's making the viral headlines. He's like, we F the rules, everyone gerrymander. Well, Donald Trump's trying to establish the rule of law. And they all said, no rules, everybody, no one's above the rule of law. Now, Beto O'Rourke is out there as a mouthpiece of the Democrat Party, chronic loser of elections and just a failure of a man. He's out there saying that rules don't matter. So they're really a party of lack of law and order. They're really disgusting, their lack of love for law and order. All right. Do we have another one? I know it looks like the meme machine got backed up and stuck there. Producer Chad got the meme Drano and unclogged it. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Oh, we're back. The greatest trick the CDC ever pulled was convincing you that you can be sick without having symptoms. Anybody remember that? Strangest part of COVID. Well, I don't have any symptoms. Well, you might have COVID. Well, I have symptoms. Oh, you got to test for COVID. Remember that? They actually pulled the trick, and people actually thought, I may have COVID because I don't have any symptoms. Interesting. Round and round so you got played, people. We got played. Right, there's the studio applause. People clapping right now for the crimes of the Congress. The free yardsticks at the hardware store used to give away there was a pile of them on top of the refrigerator. Oh, the yardsticks at the hardware store. I don't know. Didn't know they gave those away. But yeah, I think we had a yardstick. I might have got slapped once or twice with a yardstick. Whatever happened to Steve Laffey? Someone asked. Somebody has a frowny face. Some people rejoice. No. Steve has taken time off of the show. As you know, his daughter for many years has been suffering and fighting back against the cancer, and he just wanted to spend more time with his family. He's got his youngest kids at the age of 16 or 17 were heading off to Europe and different schools overseas. The smart kids graduated from CSU, now getting their master's degrees at the age of 16 or 17. He had another daughter heading over to, not related to our project, but she's working in Rwanda with the Peace Corps. So he ended up a period of time where everybody was leaving, empty nest, and he and his wife decided they were going to travel some. And, you know, Steve would always check in from the road, but he just decided for a period of time just to focus on his family, his travels, and just enjoy life. Now that he was officially kind of an empty nester and all the kids had headed off to college. And and I think I can speak for anybody out there like myself and Steve that love our kids, that when that kid heads out of this silent, it's kind of strange. It's a very weird feeling when you drop him off to school, and he dropped two off to school in Europe, and they're like 16, 17 years old, getting master's degree. But it's the best thing for them, but it's tough. So he's decided, I'm going to go travel. I'm going to go see my kids. Lakey, I'll catch up with you later. By the way, Steve Laffey has sponsored a hole at the Colorado National Golf Tournament that we're going to have for Rivers Promise on September 5th. So you will see a Steve Laffey presence on the signage. Steve Laffey was one of the first people when he heard the golf tournament was open for registration and sponsorship. He immediately made a donation and said to put on the sign stevelaffey.com. So Steve's still a good friend. We appreciate him, and we pray for him and his family, and that's what he's doing. So thanks for asking. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got some piddling to do. I'm going to go putz around my office a little bit and see if I can find some things to piddle. And if I need to cudgel something, I will. Yeah, I don't know. I figure it all out. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Don't forget, Thursday and Friday of this week, we will not be broadcasting or streamcasting. We'll take 2 days off just for travel and charity work the producer Chad's involved in. And I'm sorry I can't play in that charity golf tournament. That was going to be fun because I'm not sure who would have been sober on that whole golf club. The foursome we had was pretty prolific, and I don't know, but I got to fly out of town. Tomorrow after the show, I'm going to hop a plane, and then I'll be back. But anyway, no shows Thursday, Friday, just a programming note. If you're here, don't cry. We'll be back. All right, go to riverspromise.com, riverspromise.org, make a donation, register for a golf event. We could use your support greatly as we build Legacy Christian Academy in Rwanda. And again, think about it, pray about it when it pops in your head. If it's $5, $10, you know, we love the people that give thousands or hundreds of dollars. That's fine. But it's oftentimes just that $5 to $10 gift that you add those up, and those are people giving right from the heart. And so don't ever say, well, I'd give, but I can't give that much. Give what you can. And I'll say this later. I'll say this tomorrow as we have a guest on the program. Give what you can and be generous. If children in Africa don't cause you to have that butterfly feeling, that stirring in your spirit, if you will, then find the what does and be generous. Don't be selfish. Exercise the gift of generosity in whatever way you can. Your time, your talent, your treasure is wonderful. And a lot of times you say, well, I've got talent that I can give. That's great. But I'm telling you, sometimes an organization could just use a little bit of your treasure, and it helps a lot. But time, talent, treasure, give it, be generous with it, and know that it didn't come from you anyway, because anything you have, I believe, came from God. There's your Bible study of the day. Thank you, and you're welcome. You ready? We should go. Right. We should go. I've got to go puddle and pits and tinker. I don't know which. Now I've got all my words mixed up, and now I'm going to try to use cudgel the wrong way. Oh my goodness! This show is an intellectual stress on us all, isn't it? It makes you tired just to keep up with it. Woo! It's like Dennis Miller. Remember Dennis Miller on Monday Night Football? He made some great jokes, but you never understood them because they were too deep. That's kind of what this show's like. It's just too deep. It's deep, all right, but you need waiters. Ladies and gentlemen, may God bless you. May God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. I love you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part. Don't forget the podcast version. We're heading out to Apple Podcasts and iHeartWorld right now. Jimmy Lakey, peace. I'm out of here.